Go. That's my countdown.
Let's go. Ren seeks help. That's my favorite episode.
Oh, yeah.
That is
absolutely.
my favorite episode. I just saw it today. First time.
Oh, is that true?
First time today.
Holy
Yep.
cow.
Yep. Eric here, his voice crying out loud from the get-go.
Well, thanks. I actually am very fond of that only because Stimpy's in it for a limited amount of time, so you don't really get to hear how bad I do the voice.
Oh, it's brilliant. It's inspired actually, that film. It never says exactly what it was that Ren did to Stimpy.
Yeah.
You can only imagine when he whispers to Mr. Horse what it is, Dr. Mr. Horse, what it is he actually did.
Yeah, a lot of fans actually think that, if you play whatever Ren says backwards, you find out what it is he does to Stimpy, but not true. I think that whatever ramblings he does is just pure insanity coming from John. I don't know. Crazy voice actor.
Just imagining what it was he did is truly inspiring.
Oh my god.
Well, the film is a tour de force of acting and drawing.
Yeah.
The scenes in the psychiatrist's office, the subtle expressions on Ren, the thing where he's walking along with the kid earlier in the film with a cigarette, they're both walking along.
Skippy.
The mother and dad looking out the window.
Oh man.
In the psychiatrist's office when the horse can't take it anymore and he gets mad and he wants to kill Ren. This is feature quality animation.
Yeah, definitely. Kudos to, I guess Carbuncle did most of that, no?
Yeah.
From what I understand, they did like a lot of great animation, and they're masters of taking, stuff made for TV and making it look like feature. Thinking of Son of Stimpy or Stimpy's first part.
I was shocked when I saw that, because television is supposed to be the medium where you kind of schlock things out because you don't have time to do it right and everything.
Right.
Here it is, you're seeing something that's better than anything that's in any of the features that are in the theaters. It's just acting, like comedic acting on a level that television, I don't believe has ever seen before. Even in the, I was going to say even in the golden age of television.
No, you're right. The art direction is very 40s, and it looked like it comes straight out of the 40s. It's like 65 years ago. Suddenly here, it's a modern film with that flavor, that warmth.
And it's as if McKimson or somebody had worked on it, the expertise.
Yeah.
McKimson had this thing where, I was talking to John about it the other day, Elmer has a scene where Bugs is in his arms, and Elmer goes like this while he's talking to Bugs, and moves his body and his face around. And McKimson didn't find that hard to do, but everybody else finds that very difficult.
Yeah.
They try to avoid things like
It's
that.
very subtle, but it's very...
John, all the way through here, is doing the really hard stuff, the really subtle stuff, the thing that's easy to goof up, especially when it goes through a system. And John somehow figured out a system. I think the system was to throw fear into everybody, to alternately praise them to the skies and to not yell at them exactly, but it's amazing that you're so intimidated by John, by the quality of the drawings and everything, that itself is so intimidating that it's almost as if the drawings yelled at you, you better not ruin us. When you do this, you better not, But I just could not believe the quality of the layouts and animation and the conceptual things in there.
A lot of that, the layouts were done by Helder, and he did a lot of the thrashing of Mr. Horse at the end with the big scrap between Ren and Mr. Horse.
When he gets killed.
Ultimately, when he gets killed, some of the more back and forth talk between Ren and Mr. Horse were done by Steve Stefanelli. He did a lot of the boards and stuff like that. But,
Good work.
Yeah, I thought there was a really good mix up there. That was probably one of the episodes that really hit it on the head.
But it must have killed people to do it.
Yeah, because John likes to give everyone opportunities to do different things. So some of the people that did do the boards had a chance to do layouts and stuff. A lot of the same Ottawa crew did work on Ripping Friends while they were, first employed by John about 1999. So drawing on that show really prepared them, I thought, to draw on Ren and Stimpy.
Well, all the films, I thought that was the best executed.
Yeah, I think it's like a fan favorite though. They really thought that was super intense, and it really hit home when Ren just went ballistic at the end.
Man. I'm still shocked by that, Joe. I mean, it's better than feature quality. I mean, how many features have things like that in them, you know? I mean, a scene like that, if it had existed in Pinocchio, would have been famous, you know?
Yeah.
And the animator that did it would be famous, and it would be discussed in all the books and histories of Disney and everything. And here we are working on a TV product that had scenes of that quality. And I don't understand how John is able to do such technically perfect scenes and yet get the humor in it where you're laughing out loud.
Yeah.
This is John's thing. He's always after the out loud laugh, you know, not the inner like that.
Yeah.
It's he always wants to see the laugh, and man, you know, you keep thinking, well, okay, he did that in that cartoon, but he can't do it again, and then he does it again, and it's just so funny and so well done that it. To tell you the truth, I can't believe that exists in our time, because this is sort of a time of decadence in a way that there's some very good things going on, but maybe some not so good things, and you know, music is in difficulty, and the novel is in difficulty, you know, newspapers are in bad straits and so on. And yet here comes somebody, I hate to say this while John's here, I hope he's not listening, it's kind of embarrassing. But I can't believe we got somebody of that caliber in this generation, in this time. You know, in the 40s I could say it, as somebody in the Clampett era maybe at Warner's, but I don't understand how it happened. You know, and John didn't have the advantage that Clampett had. You know, Clampett had a unit of people that he worked with for years. He had a studio backed him up and supported him. The crew liked him. Imagine that, the crew liked him, the director. Just a lot of advantages that John doesn't have. John has to make a new crew on every project with
It's
just
tough.
a couple of holdovers.
It's almost like every crew after the original Ren and Stimpy crew was, you know, the original crew was more of his peers, I thought, and every crew after seems to be more of a student-teacher situation. So he ends up taking a lot of time training the artists, and you know, they're more than willing to learn.
Yeah, and then they go out and spread those ideas. And
that's the crazy thing.
consequently, John has been sort of the teacher of the industry, and has had a huge effect on the style of animation that's being done now. Almost every studio that's doing comedy, you know, 9 out of 10 of them or 8 out of 10 of them are doing something where you can see the influence of John, whether it's direct or indirect.
That's true.
It just, the guy changed the whole era that he's in without some of the benefits that Clampett had, or the advantages that Clampett had. So I'm just shocked to see things of that quality on television. To tell you the truth, I still don't understand. I think I just dreamt it. Couldn't possibly have dreamt it. Man. And the innovations on the show, getting the beats on the the music to match the animation, which has the same beats and so on, even though he's using canned music.
Yeah, it's another device that he had invented, and Steve Worth also did some of the animatics on a lot of these great cartoons, and it's definitely worth talking about.
Eddie? Eddie?
Yeah, the camera still can't see Steve. Oh, yes, it can.
Okay, I have a confession to make. When I was in Cub Scouts, we went out late at night one night and caught frogs. And there was a kid who had a mini bike. And the kid who had the mini bike, we threw the frogs under the tires, and the mini bike spun its tires in the mud and spat pieces of frog out.
Oh, well, that's not, you shouldn't be proud of that.
I mentioned that to John once at breakfast, and it ended up in the cartoon.
Oh, Steve! Well, there you go, history being made. Man, oh man. See, that's the thing in that film I thought was a little bit gross, was the thing up against the wall with the bike.
I lived it.
Oh, no. But man, there are so many good things in this film. If somebody was to say to me, well, gee, that thing about the animal, that's too much. I didn't like that, therefore I don't like the whole cartoon. All I can say is, well, then I guess you don't like Toulouse-Lautrec, because he painted a class of people you don't like. I mean, look at the execution of things. It's just absolutely amazing. This is a phenomenal masterpiece, just a work of art. And it's amazing that on this project, after he's done so many things in the past, that he was still innovating, one thing after another that was new and not done before. Constantly in the new things in the way the sound is done, the way the drawings are done, a new way of even drawing the characters in some cases. I just can't believe the number of innovations on a show like that. You could pick it scene by scene, and man, I just don't believe I worked on something like that. It's just a dream.
How did you feel about the sequence where Ren's parents start making out? Pastor Hoek, or
That was hilarious. That was so funny. Man, oh man, I couldn't stop laughing the first time I saw the board for that.
some really good close-up scenes of the dogs' mouths coming together. I think done by Jim. Jim Smith did a lot of those, and I just thought the voice acting by Michael Chris Falusi, that's John's dad. He did a lot of voices, a lot of side character voices in the series, and I thought he deserved an honorable mention because he's just the greatest. He'd do the reads to these characters before John would show up to voice direct them. And, you know, a lot of the times we'd hear his rehearsals, and whatever he came out with, you know, you have to finish him off! You know, that kind of thing was all him, you know. And,
Do the Mangle the Frog line.
oh, I almost forget which...
Did you mangle that
Yeah.
frog?
We gotta get John in here to do, to reenact. You gotta get John in here to reenact some of that stuff for you.
It was John's dad.
Yeah,
For real, I did not know
that
that.
was. I think John's dad was the formative influence on his life. I mean, he's still working out this thing that happened in his childhood.
Well, that whole living room sequence apparently is a page right out of John's upbringing. I forget exactly what happens, but again, we'll have to get John in to clarify. But you know, it was a whole, you know, the whole lecture thing with, you know, totally browbeating him. But it's just the funniest thing. You take the funniest things from life and show them to the world in cartoon form.
And is not Mr. Horse one of the all-time great characters? The way he is in the psychiatrist office is a perfect foil for Ren.
Yeah,
And
totally.
Ren's sitting there, and he's not realizing how he's grossing the horse out. The horse is trying to keep his cool,
Like when
be
he grabs the
professional.
gun.
Oh, that gun scene! Oh, that was shocking. I couldn't believe how good that was. Man, oh man. Wow.
It always gets a rise out of the audience. It's always
Who's
fun to
that
show.
guy that gives him the carrot?
See, John was just talking about that tonight. You know that story? Apparently, it was in a book on training horses. There was a gentleman that would give carrots to horses.
It's a real horse trainer.
The real horse trainer.
It's a very good design.
You like the way Red looked when he was smoking?
Yeah.
Smoking looks so great in animation, the way you do this with your fingers and put it up to your mouth. You burst your lip.
Your voice work in the beginning
Was
is
brilliant.
brilliant.
Absolutely brilliant.
Really?
Man, oh man, every time a new cassette came in with your voice and you weren't there, we all just stood around, you know, listening and laughing, and everybody was saying, we can't believe how good this
It's
is.
true. I was saying that before we started. That's true. It's
I really
inspiring.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
I really do. It was
And I
really
can't believe how many other things you did on this film. You were like a man of a million hats on everything that.
Yeah, just working with the crew and animatics was really fun. Trying to figure that out, and yeah, I don't know. I just had a great time overall. I learned a lot, and I continue to learn a lot working with everyone. So.
Man, one man studio.
Mel Blanc Jr.
We'll see about that. I don't know. Maybe one of Mel Blanc's toenail clippings, perhaps. I don't know about Junior, but hopefully there will be more if the DVDs do well, and it'll inspire the networks to produce more.
What I want to see, and the whole reason I'm in animation in the first place is because I love to see cartoon acting. And when it's funny, to me, honestly, that's the best there is. I feel sorry for people in live action. I worked on a live action film once, and I swear the whole time I was there, I felt sorry for people, even though there were big names and everything, and there was lots of money and lots of excitement on the set and everything. I kept thinking, oh, poor people, you know, we could have done this funnier, you know, and stuff like that. It's in acting, of course, acting requires a lot of subtlety in the drawing and the timing and the, you know, the animation and everything. And, you know, a lot of people just believe that a character should just come in off screen with little walk and then, you know, just lean forward and just do this kind of expressions and everything. That's not acting. Acting is when it's really unique to the scene, especially if the writing is good and there's, you know, room for nuance in there. Man, and because John is involved in the writing and, of course, you know, directing the whole thing in an overall broad sense of direction, he makes sure that the acting opportunities are there. Because, you know, a lot of scripts for some projects in the past that I've seen, there's no opportunity for acting. There's not a heck of a lot. You know, if you have a line like, oh, I guess I zigged when I should have zagged, come on, you can't act that. That's like reading the calendar. That's like reading a math table or something. You have to write it into the script. If you use a script, John doesn't really use a script really, but just sort of an outline. But you have to write the story such that there's opportunities for acting, and then you have to have the people who can pull it off. And boy, I got to give it to John. You know, even though he'd come in sometime as the tiebreaker, you know, and do it himself, you know, sort of in a rough way, he'd give people a chance to do it, you know, their way first, or in some way, and you know, and man, that was just the best. I look forward every day to coming to the studio, and because I knew that something that would happen that day would blow my mind. They just mind blowing every day.
It's pretty fresh always. Like, I mean, including with the voice direction and stuff like that. Like, you know, we'd come up with the most strangest reads during Ren Stimpy, you know, at least for the Stimpy part at the beginning, where he'd have a deep voice and have really funny whimpering. I'm gonna kill you! All that stuff. We had the funnest time, you know, it was an absolute blast working on it.
Did he make you yell a lot?
Actually, yeah, it's funny, because I don't know how many lines I had in that cartoon, but probably not many, probably like maybe 10 at most, maybe, and a lot of crying. And it took about like a good, like, you know, I always read about, you know, how we really grind into the ground to get the performance out of you, and I got to live it, and I couldn't talk for about a week or two after. I was like coughing up blood. It was pretty intense, but
people hand you a glass of water saying you're going to need this.
Yeah, totally.
Man, you feel like steel wool. I mean, I only did a minuscule amount on that and some other projects.
Well, you did Cigarettes to Cat.
Yeah, that's
my
small
favorite
thing.
voice of
Well,
all
not
time.
like
That and Bugs Pussy. Two of the
Yeah,
best cartoon
really.
duos of all time.
So I felt like there was a scrubbing pad or steel wool in my throat. Right? I had just eaten a lot of cotton, you know, washed down with a little bit of sand and salt. You know? You just want to take the whole Sparklets jug and put it up to your mouth.
It was pretty crazy.
It just goes on and on. You're shouting everything, and yet, but he wants nuance within the shout. You can't just shout. It has to be elegant. And lots of ins and outs, and you know, shades of character within the shout. Man,
It's pretty amazing because as much as John is, you know, spontaneous in some of his voice directing, he's also really, sometimes if I can't just deliver the line, he'll know exactly what he wants. And 9 times out of 10, you'd hear him coming out of the voice records after directing. His voice was really coarse because he'd be yelling at the top of his lungs through the headset, and I'd be like, "You monster!" You know, that kind of stuff. So it's like,